Hey, security peeps, we are live with another edition of Breaking Into Cybersecurity. I am Renee Small, cybersecurity super recruiter, demystifying. The podcast is here to demystify cybersecurity careers and helping awesome talent get into great opportunities and helping leaders hire great talent. And I'm here with a wonderful, wonderful person, Kofo Olamide. Say hi to everybody, Kofo.
How's everybody doing out there?
So Kofo, his story, the way it goes is he was a special needs high school math teacher.
Yep, in Baltimore.
Where were you?
In Baltimore.
In Baltimore. Goodness gracious. So in Baltimore, a high school math teacher in Baltimore, special needs teacher who transitioned into a cybersecurity career. So I am beyond excited to talk to him and learn more. He also is a Per Scholas grad. And as you all know, we had a Per Scholas grad on earlier this week who was like so inspiring to so many of us. So Kofo, jump in, talk to us about what made you even go from math teacher to thinking about cybersecurity, understanding, how did you even find out? How did you find out about security?
Well, I always kind of knew about cybersecurity because I was also working part-time at Best Buy in the computer section. So, we sell antivirus there too. So I always knew about cybersecurity in a sense, and I worked in the Geek Squad as well. So usually whenever people left the Geek Squad, they would leave to, computer engineering or cybersecurity or whatever type of position. So those type of talks were always being had in the store anyway. So it was always on my mind. It was just a matter of navigating, and I wasn't thinking about it due to my major in undergrad. But when I felt like I needed to make a transition, I felt like, okay, I can do the cybersecurity thing.
Very cool. And so how did you end up finding out about Per Scholas?
Well, when I moved back home to Silver Spring, Maryland, I was like, okay, I need to find an IT job. I tried really hard, put out a bunch of resumes, went into interviews, embarrassed myself a lot of times. But then I said, okay, maybe I need to get some training. So I started looking on Indeed and everywhere just for trainings, and Per Scholas came up, and it was super close to my house. So I said, okay, let me just go and see what this is about. And lo and behold, I went through the interview process, got into class, and here I am now.
And the rest is history.
That's it.
So when you applied,
Mhm.
I want people to realize, so, this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We are demystifying cybersecurity careers. We're letting people know you can have all different types of backgrounds and get into security. It's not going to be, a 6-week boot camp type of situation, but, you can come from all types of different backgrounds and come into security and make a career in the security space. And Per Scholas is one of these organizations that, as I learn more about them, I am really excited about the type of work that Per Scholas is doing with bringing in people into the industry. So when you had to apply, what what are they looking for? I know they look for an assessment. That's what Alphonse said earlier.
Yeah.
What did they look for? And a little bit about the process. Like, so there's an interview. How did that work?
So the first time, because I went to Per Scholas twice. So the first time I went, I applied online. They sent me an email, scheduled the interview. And what I got from the interview was mainly questions about my availability and then my passion for, going into cybersecurity or IT or whatever the case may be. They kind of wanted just to make sure that you are someone who's passionate about the field that you're about to go into and that you'll be committed. And that's the main things that they really kind of focus on. And, if you're able to come to class. So if you have a job or something that'll conflict with the class, they want to know that type of thing so they can get the right type of student.
Gotcha. And then I know from the person who was on, Alphonse, who was on earlier this week, that it's a week long. I mean, it's 40 hours, right? So it's typically it's a 40-hour a week, so like a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then how many weeks or how many months?
So the A+ class I took was 8 weeks. Yeah, so it was 2 months. And then when I came back for the Network Plus, Security Plus class that I believe was, I think it was 14 weeks. It was like 14. Yeah, it was 14 weeks because it was 8 and 6. So yeah, it was 14 weeks. Yeah, you just have to make that commitment. 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You have to be
Like
on.
a job.
Yeah,
Right.
you cannot miss any days. Like it's serious. It's serious.
Yeah. So you take the class. So you did A+ first. You did that for 8 weeks. Then you did another 8 weeks, and then 6.
Yeah. So the
Right.
Security Plus Network class was put together.
Combined. Okay.
Yeah, in the 14-week, but the first 8 weeks was Network Plus, and then the next 6 weeks was Security Plus.
Gotcha. So in total, for you to get A+, Security Plus, and Network Plus, it ended up being, it sounds like, for about between 5 and 6 months.
Yeah.
Or
So
5.5 months.
I did the A+ class in 2015, and I did the Network Plus Security Plus class in, I think, 2017, or
Okay.
it was 2016.
Right. Okay, cool. So total, I want to give people an understanding of how long stuff tends to take from, especially you all who have been successful in breaking into the industry. And at the end of the, so when you go through the program, you get your Network Plus, you get your Security Plus, you had done an A+ the year before. And so when you were interviewing, like, how did you get your first role?
Well, so Per Scholas helps big time with that. And one thing I want to make sure I mention that Per Scholas does, it's not just the training of the technical knowledge, it's also the soft skills that they do. So, resume cleanup, they help you set up your LinkedIn. They bring in like a lady to come and talk to you about your LinkedIn and do LinkedIn training. Once a week, we have to dress up in suits. You know, being on time and stuff, like just little things like that, putting greetings in your emails, like all of those things, those soft skills, they really hammer that into us.
Right.
And networking too. They also focus a lot on networking and being able to look people in the eyes when you shake their hand, give eye contact in interviews, like just those little things that really make a difference, honestly, at the end of the day, especially for people who are breaking into a new career field.
Right.
So that's one thing I really, really respect about Per Scholas. So they did all of that type of training, and then we did a lot of interview prep. And then they bring people like recruiters and other employers and stuff to come in and do mock interviews. And then from there, we're applying and getting interviews. And I remember this guy Peyton. He was in charge of the whole soft skills section of the class. He would always call me every day and let me know, okay, this is such and such is hiring. You better apply there. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm applying. And then eventually, I just got one of those jobs. It was a contract through Tech Systems at the NEA.
That is awesome, 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 awesome. So, gonna put up some comments up here because I see some people who are always here. Danielle says, "Good morning, good morning, Danielle. Hello, all from Texas. Hey, Derek.
Hey.
Good morning, Patrick. And hey, Kofo. This is Katia.
Oh, Katia.
Katia's everywhere.
Yes, Katia. Great.
Yes. So yes, so you leave Per Scholas, or you have the soft skills, and I want to kind of talk a little bit more about that in particular, because I know Year Up and Per Scholas tend to work similar, and some people leave Year Up and end up in Per Scholas, and part of and I don't know if Per Scholas does this. I know Year Up has like a qualifier that I don't know if it's the same now, but at the time you had to be at a certain a certain socioeconomic level to go through their program. And
Right.
their program it's called Year Up. For people who don't know, it's a 1-year program, and I believe you have to be between 19 and 24 to be a part of that program. You have to be at a certain socioeconomic level, and what they do is help you again with the soft skills, getting into the a lot of the folks that come out of that have never been in a corporate environment at all. So really trying to not only teach you technical skills, but also teach soft skills and how to interact with people in a corporate environment. So it sounds like Per Scholas does something very, very similar, except for the socioeconomic. I don't think the socioeconomic piece is a qualifier.
Yeah, I don't remember it being a qualifier.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Reginald says hello. Hi, Reginald. He said people like come on every week or every almost some every day. So cool. So Kofu, so after you have the person who's reaching out to you and calling you and saying, hey, these opportunities are available, what happens next? Like, to walk us through how you got from you're applying, so that's pretty much telling you, hey, this is where you should apply, and then what do you do after that?
So at that point, the rest is up to you to use what you were taught, to interview well and speak well in your interviews, have eye contact, study up on whoever's interviewing, use LinkedIn accounts, follow up on emails when they email you, those type of little things that you're supposed to do with, anybody professionally. And then you go in and you knock out the interview for whatever position it is. My first position was a network technician at the NEA. It was a 2-month contract. And it was just a phone interview. It wasn't even like an in-person interview because they were doing, they were upgrading the cables in the building. So it was a quick 2-month job. But then after that, I got a job at Design Data. And that was like the first real like service desk type job that I got. It was 3 interviews, a phone interview and 2 in-persons. And, you got to dress well, show up 5 minutes early, shake hands, the normal stuff that, people don't really get taught that much in school anymore. So do all of that. And then they sent me an offer and I was on my way.
That is so cool. And I want to reiterate something that you said, like you were in, you went to Morgan, so your undergrad, then eventually you went back and you got your master's. But one of the points that you made in school that, you don't necessarily get taught around, interviewing strategies, things like that, which is mind-boggling to me because when I was in undergrad, we had something going on pretty much daily where, the Office of Career Services was kind of like in our faces. Like there were always people right there, bringing organizations in, so you were trained. By the time you got out, you had been interacting with all of these business people for years. And I don't know if it's because I was in the business school, maybe that's the case. That's why. But if you're in any other location, like there's not much of that happening. Really coaching people and career services. Every time I ask somebody who's struggling, who says to me, I have the degree or this is what I've done, and they try to get entry-level roles, and I ask them about like, what is your career services doing? What is the university doing to help you get your return on the investment of going there? And it's something that I see seems to be clearly lacking.
Well, at the Morgan State University, I will want to give them some credit. The business school and stuff like that, yeah. At the time, I was a psych major, so our building was the oldest on campus. And now they've upgraded, of course, so it looks a whole lot better now. And I know the services and things like when it comes to like careers and stuff like that is a whole lot better now. So I definitely want to shout out Morgan State University, my HBCU. You guys did a great
job. Yes, Morgan State. Good stuff, Morgan State. So let me also chime in here. There are a couple comments here. Danielle says, I'm feeling old at 39. Danielle, do not feel old. We had on somebody too, the person who was on from the UK, the Krispy Kreme guy, he was 40, I think he's 41, 42. Do not feel old, my dear. And then she says, Bay Path University has career services built in the curriculum. I think that is fantastic. I think more universities need to do exactly that. It should be a class. It should be a part of the curriculum, even if it's 1 credit or 0, something. It should be a credit or something, but built into the curriculum so people kind of get a foundation of what a resume should look like, what companies are looking for. All of that should be a part of your experience going to school. Yeah. Beyond me. Patrick Milton wants to know, how do you eat when they are paying you? I don't get that one either, Patrick. Do you mean like when he was in the 40 hours a week and not really earning any money?
I guess that's what he means. I was living with my parents, so I was fine in the eating department.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing a lot of times that I don't know if I know Year Up has that 19 to 24-ish range. I believe does Per Scholas does not, right?
No,
People are in their 20s, 30s. I think I spoke to a person a few years ago who had come on, who had gone through Per Scholas, and I think he was in his 40s as well.
Yeah, it's all ages.
Yeah, they don't have an age. They don't have an age. Jeff White says, Renee and Kofo, I appreciate you both for providing this platform and value to job seekers and those looking to advance their professional endeavors. You are welcome, Jeff White. Reginald says they need more co-ops at the high school level. I 100% agree. I don't know what happened to what the co-op situations in high school, internships in high school. I also, like Kofo, well, I wasn't a teacher, but I had gone back to my old high school and worked there for a little bit and worked in the alumni services. And one of the things that the high school did that was phenomenal was work on getting internships for the kids. And I think that's just so important. Like part of education at the high school level is getting internships, interviewing, putting together a resume. That should be standard, should be a class. It just should be, period.
Exposes you to, what the possibilities are.
Absolutely. So Eric says Renee always brings relevant and insightful guests. Kofo, keep it going at 1,000. Kofo is amazing. 1,000% passion and persistence. Yeah, Kofo, he's one of those people that as soon as I met, I'm like, you got to come on the show. you have to be here sharing your experiences. And Jeff White talks about Craig Evans, who was on the show the other day, who talked about, who I believe is in his 40s, who just transitioned from Krispy Kreme. Danielle talks about before even high school, camps for middle schoolers. I agree. Like people should be interviewing. It should be like a skill that's taught. It's unfortunately sad because people are, you have the talent and you know what you can do. A lot of times some of the best employees are bad at interviewing, because they're working. Like, how many seasoned professionals that I talk to where they're not interviewers, professional interviewers, they just have their heads down, they're doing their jobs.
Yeah, they're not really people.
The interview process to me is like broken in and of itself, but that's a conversation. Lincoln says, great point, Renee, on interviewing. Naomi Buckwalter just made a nice post on preparing for interviews. Naomi is going to be back next week. So Naomi Buckwalter, she's awesome. She's going to be back next week, her and James, and we're going to be talking about a lot around interviewing and just the HR process. And, one of the things we're also trying to do is show a glimpse into what happens in HR, because I think people tend to HR is a little bit of a mystery, which I get it, to a lot of folks in the industry, just as a whole. Like people don't fully understand what happens in HR, especially with large companies. And Kofo, you get it because you have been in these large organizations, I think Fortune 500 type companies. So going through the processes and understanding like some of the things that happen in HR is something that we want to share with everyone. So you understand, so, the frustrations might not necessarily be there as much. You realize that that's an engine and, HR has its issues. Don't let me get on a soapbox, so to speak, but, just sharing, because I believe that being informed is like the best situation,
It's a form of currency. It's information.
That's it. That is it. So Kofu, so you get your first role. Another point that you brought up that I want to talk to the folks about is that you didn't initially jump into like a security analyst or a security engineer or a junior pen tester and all of that. So, tell people you're again new to the industry, took this first role, took a second role. When you were in that second position, did it have components of security? Like how did you get from there to your security roles now?
So for me, I would say, I kind of think it was, this is another thing we did at Per Scholas, is kind of map out what we want to do over the next 5 to 10, years. And I think that was very important because sometimes when you're here, you're just kind of going and going. You're not really thinking of the future. You're just going as life is coming at you. So I always had that plan to transition into security. It was just about how. So everywhere I went when I was on the service desk or anything like that, I always sought out the security team or the cybersecurity team to try to get some insight into what they do and, rub shoulders with them and, network with them. And I think that's a very important part of IT or cyber in general is networking. And, using your ambition and curiosity to kind of push you further and know that there's something better, something greater than what you're doing at the moment. So I always was rubbing shoulders with people and networking and trying to pick people's brains on how they got to the position that they're at, and then just kind of followed those steps. And I realized the certification route is the best way. So then I came back and got the Security Plus, and then everything kind of opened up.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And then what made you go back to grad school?
Well, what made me go back to grad school is I would go in a lot of people's offices, especially when I was at the NEA, and I always saw that there was a master's there. Not only that, but I'm Nigerian, so my parents would not leave me alone about getting my master's. So I knew I was going to get it. It was just a matter of in what. And since I was trying to transition to cybersecurity and everything like that, it just made sense to get my master's in cybersecurity management and policy. And I knew that it'll also help boost my profile as a candidate for these positions.
Right. No, that's so funny. Anybody that comes on and they are Nigerian American or have Nigerian parents, it's and a lot of people from immigrant backgrounds, it just makes me laugh because that's a non-negotiable. It's not happening without it. They will ride you. My dad probably on his deathbed was like, "You didn't get your master's." He was not, they would totally ride you. But being a continuous learner, having that education is definitely always key. And I never, I definitely think that at least start to what you did, started at, you went to Morgan, but then went back and got the certs and then went back and your employer probably paid for part of your degree. What I hate to see though is people go and they get exorbitant, take out a ton of money and get a degree and then can't get a job. That is, breaks my heart. But to go to either community college or go to a, lower cost type of place to be able to get certifications and get your degree kind of like a Western Governors or, that kind of thing is definitely something that that I promote. So a couple of comments here and then I have to wrap because I actually have to go quickly today, unfortunately. But Reginald says here, yes, roadmap of life is so important to stay focused. And Kofo, I think that what you said, having that 5 to 10 year plan is so important, instead of just getting into a little bit of a, rat race, so to speak, or just go without really fully knowing what your destination is, where you want to end up. So you took that liberty to network while you were in your role, which is just so very important. And then I love the fact that you said you walk in these offices and you see these degrees on the wall. It's like, well, this is where this person is. This is what they have. I'm going to go get that too. So I thought that was really cool. And then Eric Williams says it's critical to be curious to find your passion. #network. I 100% agree with that. So Kofo, you are amazing. I am looking forward to, staying connected and, you coming back and bringing more knowledge to people. This was so informative, telling your story. I know you do it a lot for Per Scholas. Yeah. So he's a Per Scholas spokesperson. Yeah. So very, very excited to have you. And thank you for joining me this Friday. And for everyone else, see you guys tomorrow with another edition of Breaking Into Cybersecurity. Bye, everybody.
All right.